In section 6.2, there's a nice technique for factoring a trinomial of the form x squared plus bx plus c. Now that is when the first coefficient, the leading coefficient of the x squared term is 1. So consider this, x plus 9 times the binomial x minus 4. Now we can FOIL that, and you're going to end up with x squared plus 5x minus 36. Now let's take a look and see what happened with that thing. Okay. Well, it turns out that if we added the 9 and the negative 4 together, look what happens. They came up to be the positive 5, didn't they? And if we take that 9 and 4, and this time we multiply them together, they're going to come out to be this negative 36. So now that's the technique that we're going to be using. We're going to know that if we start with this stuff over here on the right-hand side, that if we find two numbers that they add together to get our middle term, and they multiply together to get this last term, why, then we can put them into this form. Okay, so here's that. We got x squared plus 5x minus 36. We know that's going to factor into some form that looks like this. So we have to find these two numbers here, right? I'll call them n and m. I want the product of those two numbers to be equal to, well, negative 36, right? Because when you multiply them together, 9 times negative 4 is negative 36. And we want the sum of them to be equal to 5. And oh, by the way, I like to talk about signs of the two numbers. If I'm multiplying two numbers together and they're negative, notice how the signs are opposite. And over here, notice the signs, I've already determined signs are opposite. If the signs are opposite and they add up to the number 5, well, that means that the big number, if you will, is positive. If they had added up to negative 5, the big number would have been negative. See how that works? Okay, next thing I do is I set up a little table. I look at candidates for n and m, and I want n times m to equal negative 36, and I want m plus m to equal 5. Okay, well, start out with some candidates. Remember, the big number is positive. Signs are opposite, so I don't know, I could start with negative 1 and 36. That certainly multiplies together to get negative 36, doesn't it? But they don't add together to get that. Negative 2 and 18, well, works there, still doesn't work, does it? Negative 3 and 12, that. And let's see, negative 3 and 12, no, they don't add together to get 5 either, do they? Oops. Okay. Let's move my chart up a little bit here so we have some more turf. All right. How about negative 4 and 9? Well, multiply together to get that. And okay, here they are. This one, these two together do get my 5. So here's the negative 4 and the 9 is the ones that I want to use. I'm going to put those up in the boxes up here. Doesn't matter which one I do, because if I put the negative 4, the 9 here, or the negative 4, remember that multiplication is in the middle. Multiplication is commutative, so I can do it either way. So I'm going to end my problem by saying x squared plus 5x minus 36 equals, and I'm going to put the negative 1 first, x plus 9. Okay, did you see how we did that? We started out with our original expression, and we knew that because we had a 1 out in the front there, that this was going to be x plus some number times x plus some number. Okay. We took a look at our products, and our sums had to be negative 36, 5. We dealt with some signs over here, and we set up our little table. Oh, by the way, you don't have to. I sort of went negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. You don't have to go all the way there. I mean, if you recognize that, you know, after you do the first one, maybe you say, well, I'm way off base. I got to get a lot closer, a lot faster. Look ahead. Try negative 4 very first time if you can. What you're trying to do is get to these two numbers. I did it the hard way. I came through each one of the candidates, but feel free to jump ahead if you want to find those two numbers. Once I had them, why then all I had to do is plug it into the original, the original form there, and I had my factorization of the trinomial. So that's how to factor a trinomial of the form x squared plus bx plus c.